Hi, everybody. This is Daniel Hill with Alchemical Records, and I'm sitting today with Jim Ebert. You might recognize him or his name on a number of albums and credits for audio production and mixing and mastering and Grammy award winning. Am I not mistaken, Jim?
Nominated.
Nominated. So this
Nominated.
close.
Not close.
That close.
It's like the story of my career. I've had two number two hits. I mean, they've been number one in their category, alt rock or whatever, but they were number two nationally. And I think Whitney Houston held me out of both.
Well, that's tough competition, isn't it?
Right.
Well, Jim, you have over the years not just been focusing on your passion personally for audio engineering, but you've taken a personal story of your own and used that to empower you to work with other artists going through a similar situation.
Well,
can you talk a little bit about Cancer Can Rock and
I will.
and what you've been working on?
Sure. In 2001, I was diagnosed with what's called a brainstem glioma, and after several opinions, I was given one opinion from Johns Hopkins that told me I'd have a year to live, which was not the right opinion. So I got another opinion, and at Duke, that was my fifth opinion, and they were very literally said, "You don't have an expiration date on your forehead. We're going to help you manage this and do this together." And that seemed like the right approach. And they were hopeful. They weren't singing dread.
Right.
They were singing hope. But after I survived, I'd say 8 or 9 years, maybe 10, I was driving back from Duke, literally, back to Virginia where I live. And I just thought I needed to do something for people that were battling cancer. And really what I do is produce and mix music. And I thought, well, why don't I just do that for people that are sick? And I partnered with, at the time, a guy named Bruce Parker that and we just kind of started it. You know what I mean? Bruce was very good at getting the 501c3 quickly. I don't know how it happened, but it did. And we just started doing it. We got some advice from a friend of his who ran the Boomerang Foundation. He goes, "It's a great idea. Just do it." And we did. And here we are. We're 30 artists later. We've recorded 30 artists. So it's a pretty simple concept. It's giving someone that's having a difficult time one good day. You know what I mean? They come into the studio. We pay for everything. If they're wherever, we've flown to California. Whatever we need to do, and then we give them a produced song mixed with a video of the day. And now how do you put this? They're living forever through their medium, something like that. And it's really been rewarding. Just that's a cheesy way to say it. It's just been rewarding. I've had several people say to me, literally sitting in the studio, sitting next to them on the couch, and they look at me and go, "This is one of the best days of my life." Three people have said that, 3 artists. And, that makes me realize I'm going to be doing this the rest of my life, because that's incredibly awesome. Just to give people that are having some of them are not having that bad of a time, and some of them are having a horrible time. Just to be able to give them a break, that's it.
I find that to be really inspiring. I think it's important for everybody in their lives to do the things that they're passionate about. And obviously with your background in music, I think that when you have that recognition to say, "Hey, I'd like to do something for other people that are, going through an experience with cancer," I think it's fantastic that the light bulb that clicks is I know I can do this over and over again and enjoy the audio production side and be able to give that to somebody.
You also, after a certain period of time, for me, I can't speak for everyone, but for me, I just sort of let BS go by my side. You know what I mean? Once I sort of felt like I was surviving, and drama, BS, stuff that you would get with people, but you would get that with record companies too. I just don't really want to deal with any of that anymore. I just kind of pull back, and I'm like, there's more important stuff than meeting a deadline or doing this. I understand business and I understand what you need to do to do certain things. But when, an indie artist will say, well, we've got to get this out by June 20th. And why? Well, we have a show on the 23rd to promote the record. Well, don't you think you should have finished the record first? So, you know what I mean? I just don't tolerate it. I just don't.
Absolutely.
It's easy.
Well,
It's easier.
Hopefully people that hear that, instruction coming from you, take it to heart
Right.
for their next record, at least,
Now, when you're working for a label, I understand the difference, right? Because there's a lot of people at work targeting this date. Because I've certainly had that come up as well, where the record's not mastered or even mixed, and they've got everything already set up. And I understand why that needs to work. But if you're, Bobby sitting in your bedroom saying, "Hey, June 22nd, we're going to drop our record," dropping your record doesn't mean a whole. I'm belittling it, and I don't mean to, but I mean, in the scope of the world, dropping your record without millions of dollars promoting it and targeting it and all that, it can move. Is what I'm saying. You can move your date. If your record's not done, don't sacrifice the quality of your record because you got a show.
or the quality of a proper marketing plan.
Correct.
I was introduced to somebody that you recently had worked with for Cancer Can Rock, named Edward Miskey,
Yeah.
based in New York, and is a well-experienced theater and musical performer.
Absolutely.
Wrote songs when he was younger and left them, in that part of his life
Right.
until many years later, until he had a chance to, revisit that concept again with you. Do you mind talking a little bit about that project specifically, and
Sure.
maybe a little bit about the processes as well and the musicians?
Edward came in. God, my memory sucks. A Facebook friend of mine, had referred him, to me, and we talked for a while, and I listened to it, and I heard the kind of the Broadway influence, and I'm a rock guy, you know what I mean? And I thought, well, how can I merge these two? And I think, well, Queen, right? Theatrics and rock, because Queen.
Right.
So I kind of applied a little bit of Queen, maybe too much Queen, but how can you have too much Queen?
I heard those double bends in there on the guitar, and it was very reminiscent, but I feel it pays an homage. I don't think there was any blatant misuse of.
Okay.
Of
well, I appreciate lying. I appreciate you lying to me like that. Yeah, no, it sounded good, and I think he had a good time, and I know we had a good time. The other thing is, when people come in, they have no idea. A lot of them have no idea, right? Some people walk in and go, "Oh, I thought I was going to your basement." You know what I mean? We're going into a pretty full blown studio with a pretty high cast of musicians. But I say this in every interview: they're amazing musicians, but better people. So there's just no stress. You know what I mean? Everyone will say that. Every artist that's been through the door will be like, "This should be intimidating, but it's not."
Right.
Everyone's just nice. We're just having a good time. We're making music, not making drama. And they're like, a lot of them have been in bands and things like that. And they're like, we're not used to this. We're not used to not having drama.
Nobody threw anything.
Right. Our drummer's not pacing in front of the window going, what the hell is he doing at my drums? Yeah.
So do you have a rotation of musicians, a specific group that you like to work with?
I have probably 7 or 8 that cover the whole gamut of what I do musically. I would call it a core 4, and then an alternative band that's maybe more soul based that I use when I do stuff like that.
Very cool. It was with just the process in general. How does somebody get introduced to you? Like, are you actively looking for people to take part in this project, or how do they approach you and share their ideas with you?
They can go to jim@cancercanrock.org, email that. They can just go to cancercanrock.org and sign up, and we'll figure out a way to get them. It's a little tough right now with COVID, But after COVID's over, and this is a real conundrum because COVID slows it down, and people don't have time. Some of them don't have time to mess around, and that's. I mean, by the same token, I don't want to bring them out in COVID, right?
Right.
Their immune's already down. They're on chemotherapy or whatever. Their immune system's already shot. I don't want to bring them out in that kind of environment.
Absolutely.
So we're gonna once COVID is over or everyone's vaccinated, however we get there, we'll probably start back up. I've got a couple of people in California that are ready to go. That when I mean that state's still on fire. I think COVID wise, so it's going to be a while. But I would go out there for that one.
It's put a pretty big uh like a dampening experience on not just the recording processes, but also some of your other like community outreach stuff. The live performance aspect
Absolutely.
is gone.
We've had zero fundraisers in a year. You know what I mean?
We'll have to put together a telethon.
Right. Can you get Jerry Lewis on that one?
I don't know.
All right. Is he still alive? It's gonna be tough if he's not alive.
I'll work on my voices. Maybe I could. Maybe we could deep fake it.
We'll put a little tuning on you. You know. So cool.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Yeah. We. I'm not gonna lie. We have a blast doing these Cancer Can Rock things. They're fulfilling, and you know, no one's been unhappy. Nor should they, but no one's been like, I don't like this. You know what I mean? This is weird. I can't do it. Everyone's stepped up, no matter how sick they were. And like I said, there's no ego. So if someone said to me, I don't like, can we take it a different direction? I'd say, sure. I'm even as a producer on your individual thing. I mean, we do enough pre-production typically. If I'm working with you as a producer, that kind of dictate what it's going to be, so I can usually hear the end result before we actually start recording. And it's a little bit the same with Cancer Can Rock. I just kind of typically they will send me a voice recording or something of the song. And they may just have the lyrics, and we'll put the chording together or whatever, or they have it in a pretty well put together demo. It just depends on who they are. Yeah, your turn.
That kind of push and pull is really important on, you know, for any song, because it's such an emotional experience for any songwriter. And so having a producer that they can connect with to just, you know, help them lay it out, working together as a team to do the best that you can for that song is really important.
Correct. And this is going to sound wrong, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm at an age where I only do what I want to do. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
A lot of times I would take projects if I could make them better. That was my prerequisite. If I know what you're trying to do and I can make it better, I'll do it. And now I'm just taking projects that I like and feel attached to.
Well, that's a life lesson, part of a personal journey for myself, but also just, I think, a piece of advice that every artist who's, you know, listening to this or watching this interview should take to heart, because life is really too short to, you know, be pursuing a vision that you're not even sure you're going to be happy with when you're done with it.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, I've done not a huge amount of major label work, but enough to watch that ride succeed and fail. You know what I mean? So you can watch how much pressure and you know, mental strain you can see it's putting on everybody. And when it succeeds, it's awesome, right?
Right.
That everyone looks like a genius when it succeeds, but when it fails, then the finger pointing starts, and it usually comes down to it was mixed or produced wrong or whatever. You know what I mean? Rarely does anyone take ownership.
so many stories like that don't even make it into the news. So it's kind of like in entertainment, people celebrate all of their successes, but never really discuss their failures, so to speak.
Well, yeah. You know, I've done a fair amount of records that were critics' darlings. It didn't sell anything, but they brought me a lot of good work, and they were really good people, and they were really good records. You know, why they didn't sell was the planets not aligning, marketing not aligning, all of those kind of things, or it just didn't hit everybody. Now on the flip side, sometimes I worked on that song "Bitch" by Meredith Brooks, and you knew that right from the minute you hit play on it. You're like, oh, you know, and she had wanted that. She was probably 40 when that song broke. I don't think they marketed her that age. I think it was about that, but she had wanted a hit song her whole life, right? She wanted success. So she finally got it. Now everyone's different, right? There are some artists. This is my personal favorite. If you're an artist and you come in and you said, "Well, I'm going to do what I like to do," and people gravitate towards it, cool. I feel like that makes a lifelong artist right there. I think when you come in and pander to radio and write one song, it's a big hit. Hey, that's great if it's a big hit, right? It's one more hit than most people ever get. But typically it's a short-lived career. And I bring up Radiohead because they're the epitome of doing what they want to do and they don't really care and they're huge. Well, they were huge, but they're uh, comfortable doing what they want to do. And there are other versions of that. I mean, there's Dave Matthews, a little not quite as adventurous, but still, kind of doing his thing.
Right. What is your outlook right now? Some people have said that the coronavirus has put us in a situation where the music industry grew 20 years in 5 months.
Maybe, maybe a lot of people. I've had this discussion, not about this particularly, but about the state of the industry because of the digital downloading, the income, the one hit wonder scenario of it all. Uh, they're like, no, the music industry is fine. It's just smaller. You know what I mean? They're making money, and well, I'm like, good. You know what I mean? Because my heyday was the '90s, really, when record deals were all over the place, and uh, standard record deals were like 250 grand, right? That was the like standard rock number. You get 250 grand, you get a $250,000 publishing deal or whatever. Um, that doesn't exist as much anymore. It's still there, but not nearly what it was back then. I think I did two records that never got finished with $250,000 budgets. Not my fault. Records got pulled. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I was working on one record, no names, and I'll say the label. It was RCA, and I'm in like the third week of the record, and the A&R guy goes, "I don't really like any of their songs, and I don't really like the singer's voice." And I'm like, "Why the hell did you sign them? What the hell?" You know what I mean? And it was an eye opener.
Right.
It's just this is not about the art. This is about this A&R guy's ego, whatever. I'm painting a wrong description of what the way things can be, but it was very frustrating to be because as a producer, I dig into it. You know what I mean?
Right. You get
And
emotionally attached yourself.
I do, and I become friends with everybody I'm working with, and to see them get their records shelved or whatever the case may be, I do take some responsibility for it. Because then I say, well, if I'd have produced it differently,
Whether it was the 90s or today, I think that there's always been a segment of potential musicians who have thought that really the only method to success is being signed to a major label.
I don't
But
think that's
but
okay.
it has been akin to winning the lottery ever since I started. There
Well,
and then on the
you,
backside you have musicians who are working, like I would say like everyday working musicians, 9 to 5 musicians.
I don't know what this scenario is, but like Butch Walker, I've done a couple of records, two and a half records with him, and he's got such a core fan base. Now, granted, he has been working since the '90s and doing records and keeping his fan base alive and the whole thing. But I mean, I don't know if this is the scenario, but he could just go to his website, and probably sell 30 or 40,000 records on his website, and he's already got a nice living. But if you can do that as well, you know, you're golden. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? So he made me very pissed off years ago because he would go tour what he wanted to and play what he wanted to, and it didn't really matter. And people came to see him, and it was it was awesome. But I was like, damn it, he gets to produce and do all these cool records, and he gets to go out and play live, whatever he wants. And so he did it right.
Absolutely.
And the one thing that I will, I mean, many reasons I love him, but he doesn't allow A&R people in his sessions, which
I-
is huge.
In the recording sessions or in the
That's
songwriting or?
no, in the recording session. So when you're working sometimes with a label and their A&R guy comes in, it's a little bit like getting your paper graded.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's a 6-8 week, 3-month project, whatever. And they come in 6 weeks into it and listen to what you've done. And it's not done. You know what I mean? It's like embryonic, and you're starting to get opinions of what it should be. Anyway, I'll stop bitching about good times.
No, I mean, I think it's just maybe an important preface to say that these are some of your experiences. It certainly isn't like a defining, like,
Let's go to the other side of this. When you get signed to a label, you get other things that you're not going to get. You get marketing, you get all those things. You also get the ability, okay, we did this song in Nashville. It doesn't sound right. Let's do it again. Let's do it in California. You can do that, right?
right.
That budget is there to do those kind of things. This piano sounds like shit. Let's go over to this studio and do it. Guys struggling in a band can't do that. You know what I mean? They don't have that option. So they have to make it as good as they can make it. And having said that, you know, I've made a couple of successful songs in low key environments or lo-fi. So I don't know what my point was with that, but
there are some perks.
help me out. There are some perks. Thank you.
There are some perks.
There are definitely some perks. And people get confused because they're like, well, they're giving you money to record, but you're going to pay it back. You're not going to pay it back if you don't sell records, right? They don't come to you and say you owe us $250,000. You only sold 10 records. That just gets washed. However, if you do sell a lot of records, you have to pay it back, usually 2 or 3-fold.
In the past, I've kind of considered it a little like a long-term military career. You know, if you're 20 years in the military, you resign and you get some residual income, you know, from a 20-year career in the military. And if you are signed to a major label and have, you know, team and help and support and a little liberty to go and do what you want to do, it's usually a 7-year contract. And so at the end of that 7-year contract, if you haven't developed any of your own relationships or friendships and been a part of building your own career during that 7 years, then on the other side, you're going to fail. But if you utilize that time with them to
correct,
to
you go
create
to another
relationships,
or you created a brand the whole time. You created a level where you can sell 15,000 records on your own or whatever the case may be. The other thing is the label aspect of it. It makes it a little easier sometimes just to know you have that much time. Do you know what I mean? To know that, okay, we have 2 months to make this record or 3 months, right? I don't really like taking that long to make a record. I'm very much like, let's do this. Let's go do it. And that's one of the reasons I think Butch and I made such good records, because he was like-minded. We didn't really go in and go, what if we did this? Or what if we did that? What if we did this? Well, we could do this. You know what I mean? We're like, hey, let's try this. Okay, well, that sounds good. Let's use it. Or no, that doesn't sound good. All right, never mind. It wasn't like, let's force this into the square. You know what I mean? Let's just make music and have fun. And he's good enough to do that. The vocals are all 1 or 2 takes. His guitar playing is monstrous. So you can ask for anything. You know what I mean? As a producer, you can say, can you try this? Can you try this? And it can happen. But did you ever see the Marvelous Three?
I did not know.
They were like from another planet. There's so much sound from 3 people, and so much energy on stage. It was insane. They opened for pre-production on the first Marvelous Three record. They opened for Third Eye Blind when Third Eye Blind wasn't really a success yet. It was a crappy bar in Alabama, and I'm not blowing smoke here, but the Marvelous Three, no one knew who they were. But by the 4th song, everybody that was there was at the stage, right? because they were like, "What is going on?" But we're going to catch this.
The Washington D.C. community, it doesn't get a bad rep as a music and arts thing. It doesn't necessarily have a great national reputation in the same way that New York, LA, and Nashville have
Right.
for music and arts and creative culture. But my experience here is that it has all of those things. Uh, what do you think about the DC scene in general and the community that's here? And
Well, I think the unfortunate side is there's no industry here. Just not. There are a couple indie labels, but there's just not. You know, you can't drive down the street to a publishing company or whatever. So I think that hurts. You know, and there's been a little dark cloud. I think. You know, we've had some successes. There have been people that have gotten out and succeeded. Um, but I think there's plenty of talent. There's plenty of great material. Um, Plenty of great bands, and I've worked with several of them. And I just think there's no industry. You know, I really do. I mean, I shop a lot of these bands in LA, or mainly LA, because that's where the few people I know still exist are there. Um, but it's frustrating, right? Because when I lived in LA, I could oh, I'm not working today. I'm gonna drive over and see so and so at Atlantic Records and see what they got going on. You know what I mean? And I got work and I stayed in the loop, and they would play me what they were working on, and you know what I mean? So those options are not here for me and or bands to just have so and so come out from Capitol and see you play at so and so bar, right?
right,
Can't happen here. I mean, if someone gets, if you have a big buzz and you're big on the radar of Capitol Records, they'll fly out and see you, right? But it's not quite as easy.
so is that what it would take? The like having because we have all of the creative aspects, the audio
We
and the
do.
video and the music,
We do.
and you know, so do you think that a publishing company or a PRO having more of a foothold out here would do it? Like what pieces is the DC scene needing to
I
fill in the
think
gaps with?
having several of them, you know what I mean? They don't have to be huge, but enough to make a difference. I mean, you and I can start a publishing company tomorrow, and you may already have, probably have. Uh, that's not going to get people into your fold, so to speak.
Right.
I don't think, but maybe I'm wrong. I started another thing with some friends of mine called Such Good Karma. It's music for film and TV, right? So it's just producing alternative versions of covers. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And it's all some. It's got an original side too, original music. I haven't had a placement yet, but I'm working on it.
That's
Um,
cool.
yeah, yeah. I've got a few friends in California that are fairly high in that world, so I'm going to keep pushing that, and it's kind of fun. It's a blast recording the stuff. It's really cool because okay, let's like we did Girls on Film, the Duran Duran song. Let's make a really creepy version of Girls on Film. And the next horror film that involves that, right? Now the problem is I've got to find where that film is being made, and I've got to get it to their music supervisor or their director. So
Right.
I need to find the liaison who will do that because I'll create the music, the website, the catalog, the whole deal. Um, so I'm working on that, sort of a lifelong thing.
Is that something that you're actively looking for, like more musicians to be a part
Yes,
of, or?
yeah,
Yeah, I was just
mainly.
double making sure before I share this online and everybody starts sending you emails about it, you know?
That's fine. They can send it. You know what I mean? I'll listen to material. You know,
Sure.
I look for covers that have been destroyed, right?
Right.
And I look for original material that's a little weird.
Sure.
And
Seems reasonable.
yeah, that's pretty much it. It's for film and TV. I mean, it's not supposed to sell a million records. So it needs to planets need to align for it to happen. It has to hit the right supervisor, excuse me, right director at the right point in time where they're working on a film with a particular scene that needs this thing. So it's
Sure.
not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. I know that, but I'll keep trying.
Sounds like fun. Very worthwhile. I have a similar experience and I'll share that with you when we get off
Go,
camera.
go do
Um,
it.
Oh, well, so I took a music licensing course in 2020, and it was a year-long course, and some of it was like pre-recorded lessons, and one was kind of guided or curated lessons. And I had a chance to sit in front of a few music supervisors and pitch some of my music and get direct feedback and just understand the process. It's like a lot of other things, it, it it's through polite persistence. It's
Yes.
through genuinely getting to know people and caring about them, and then being able to convey that, without it always being about you. So when you're also just seeing each other as equals in the industry, that the music supervisor's job is to find music, and that the musician's job in this case, or the pitcher's job in this case, is to be able to do their homework and try to help that music supervisor find the music that lets them meet their needs.
Right.
Um,
You're right.
and so it's a very different world from the social media generation, because they want to send the same song and the same copied and pasted emails to people and say, hey, listen to my music, and not really give them any context to work in, not really showing that they've listened to some of the projects that the music supervisor has worked
Right.
on. It's just, hey, listen to my music. And then when they follow up, it's every couple of days, and it's, hey, have you listened to my track yet? Have you listened to my track yet? And that's like a sure way to blacklist yourself from.
Well, and I may be doing that a little bit because on Monday I send out a cover song, and on Friday I send out an original song. And right now I have 11 supervisors that I send out to,
Okay.
3 of which are very big supervisors, um, and they're friends. So if they don't come through for me soon, we're gonna have a problem.
Right. At least you presume they're listening because you know them personally,
Well,
and
and
not
I
just as a
get
contact.
comments, and I get comments. I know they don't listen every time.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I know that doesn't happen. So I'm not afraid to resend something on a Monday. I know I sent this 2 months ago, but I'm going to send it again because out of the 11 people, maybe 3 people listen to it, and they
Right.
certainly don't remember it with the amount of stuff that they're listening to. So I just keep going. I've got a lot of people, man. I'll send you the site too.
Yeah, I'd
I'll
love
send
to
you
check
one
it out.
so you can hear some of the stuff. The covers are really cool. The originals are good. The covers are cool. We'll do
Yeah.
like. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that. I mean, I always think that there's just, it's a unique voice to hear something that maybe is meant to be super happy and turn it into something really creepy, or to.
With a few of those, we have I had Justin Trawick, and his this kind of stuff is kind of like bluegrass versions of Whitney Houston, and it's all pretty good. It's pretty enjoyable, I think.
Right.
Um, I, you know, I'm just going to try. That's all I can do. I'm going to keep networking through supervisors, and at this point in my career, I think diversification helps keep me alive. It makes it so I don't have to get a real job.
Right.
The real job sucks. I don't want to do that.
Now you're preaching to the choir. I think that's just me,
So,
you, and every musician would love to
right,
avoid that regular day
right.
job.
It's the same. It's the same. I've got friends that now are booking bands and doing publishing or whatever, and I'm like, more power to you. You know,
What is next for you? Is there a specific project that you're working on now that's going to be coming out shortly, or?
not really, because COVID has kind of clamped things down a little bit. I'm mixing a bit of stuff at home that's kind of all over the place. And then I did another Cancer and Rock artist a few weeks ago, and that's getting a lot of press because she was getting a lot of press with her story of cancer, and she just went through her second craniotomy, which is where they take the back of your head off, um, surgery, and she's come through it. But man, you know what I mean? It's like my cancer was nothing compared to that. Um,
Which
I
is
took
saying
chemo.
something.
Yes, I guess my chemo was my chemo. My cancer literally was nothing. I had nothing where they took half my head off or anything
Right.
like that. So I feel for these people, and I tell them, you had it way harder than me, because most of them have had a very very tough time. And we've lost a few, you know what I mean? A few have passed. Maybe 4 out of the 30 people I think have passed. Um, yeah. So all those things are good and bad, right? You get to meet some wonderful people, and when they leave, isn't that cool?
I think it's really it's really emotional, you know, even now just kind of speaking with you, you know, in this virtual session. But I think that the fact that you've been able to have that time, not just in recording, but at your personal experiences, you know, they
Sure.
continue to live on, and like your legacies become intertwined. And
Right, right. And I think of, if I was the artist, and I hope to never be the artist again, the to have something that my grandkids would see the video and hear the song, that's pretty cool, you know. Or my great great grandkids, when we're none of us are here, we'll have this.
it's a beautiful thing. And I've
Yeah.
been very excited for Cancer Can Rock and its mission ever since, yeah, I first became aware of it. And honestly, I think it's disappointing to know that there's so much more I could have done, you know, to stay
Yeah.
involved, uh,
Ah,
and more that can be done. So definitely looking forward to using this as a reintroduction for,
well, good.
you know, people in my
But
network. And
well, every foundation, we're looking for money and donations to keep us alive. All because I want everyone to know this. We're a very small foundation, and we're all volunteers except for me. I make $500 a month. I will tell you that right now. So we just we to keep going. It costs money. I can't get the musicians that I want for free all the time, right?
right,
All of them will come in for free once or twice if I say we need to do that. But to make a sustainable foundation, you have to have income. You
right,
do. I didn't realize that before I started one.
right,
Right? I thought, oh, you're a foundation. You just get money. You're trying to do good for the world. You just get money. You got to raise it. You got to, you know what I mean. You got to use it. You got to keep it professional and to sustain it. And
right.
somehow we managed to make this thing run for about 7 years. So I'll keep going. I'm gonna keep going as long as I can.
That's exciting. Thank you so much, Jim.
Yeah, man. Thank you.